Today is the day, guys. Today we finally receive the new Hypercar Tyre Model, and I'm excited to take you out for a direct comparison between the current, right now still public tyre and the new tyre, which is going to be the public tyre from now today onwards. So in order to do so, I'm gonna take you around the public build with the BMW Hypercar around Circuit of the Americas, and after that we're going to switch over to the media build that currently features the new tires already. We're going to take same car, same conditions, same setup, and we do a direct comparison, 5, 6, 7, 8 laps. I tell you about the thoughts. We have a look into MoTeC, how the rim heating is looking in comparison to no rim heating yet, and I would say, guys, we're going to jump straight into the car, current build, old tyre model. Let's go. Alright guys, here we go. Current public build with the BMW. This is the tyre that will be dated from today onwards. The tyre that has been, well, with us for, I think, the last 6 or 7 months. A tyre that has a substantial issue with drift sliding and slip angle and so on. And before we bury it, of course, we're going to have a look into it. We're going to have a comparison about it. So I'm taking my BMW setup here around Circuit of the Americas. We're gonna do a couple of laps, 2, 3, maybe 4 laps, and then we jump into the BMW again, but this time with a new tire. The new tyre model that is going to be the public version of this from today onwards. As much as we do have cold tires coming out of pit lane, coming out of pit road, you can already see that we do have 70-ish, almost 80 degree even in the front left thanks to our lockup. So between 65 and 70 degree on the core temperature after the initial first sector. Obviously tire pressure's not up there yet, and also the core temperature of the tire not up there and not yet 100% in operation window. However, grip wise the car feels pretty alright already. It's nicely following my commands. I can already push it a little bit. I already have a good feel in FFB, so whenever the car is doing a little bit of oversteer, I can already feel it straight away. And with that, I should actually be able to go and push on the next lap straight away. Now you see, on the exit, pretty quickly going into neutral steering here, which is one of the key criticism points on the tyre model that is going to be old from today onwards. You see here on the exit as well, neutral steering, car still rotates. So initially you're given the direction into the turn, and then you take care about counter steering all the way most of the time. The only time or the only occasion where the tyre doesn't feel ready yet is here in this high speed stuff, which we also need to make sure to use correctly in order to bring up the heat for the tire. But you see the car is constantly trying to break out on us in the back. And you all remember the famous slip slides. As much as we have only like turned in 90, maybe 100 degrees on the steering wheel here, I already felt the rear like coming around in the back. So that is obviously something that we got rid of already in the LMP2, and even more importantly on the GT3s, which I think in the community is both absolutely appreciated because it makes the GT3 feel more like a car to drive, and at the same time we also hear a little bit of criticism about the cars being lazy on the front end and still not stable but whatnot. I'm pretty sure we're gonna see tire updates left, right and center still coming in the next couple of months, but I may be wrong. Let's see about that. So one more lap. Tires should be in condition for a full push lap now. Neutral steering here on the exit again. We have an 18 degree track temp, 18 degree ambient, 42 degree track temp. And here on the dash in the bottom left, we're checking the temperatures, which is the core, well, some of the inside core layers, not the very inside, but I think like a layer somewhere deep inside the tire that is mainly being used for calculation of the grip. Hence it makes sense to display the temperature here on the MFD, and you can really see the temperature going up even after the turn, since the temperature from the surface still transfers into the core tire. Anyway, here you see the slide, a little bit of brake application, and immediately the car kind of nicely sweeps around. Is a driving style that we hypercar drivers have developed over the month now to perfection it. And that will be interesting to see. New tires, new karts, new habits, new techniques that you kind of need to learn, right? New ways of driving, new ways of setup philosophy. I assume the setup that we're currently running won't be as effective or won't be as good to be used in the new tire conditions. We're gonna see about that in a moment. So we're finishing this lap. We'll also get a little bit of a lap time comparison done. 53.7, and I think tires have just one more shot at it. There you see the slip slide, a little bit of counter steering, and yet though on the exit we're purple. So, and this is the key point of criticism. This is the so unnatural way and so wrong way of driving that I'm looking forward to see how the new tire model will be feeling straight away. Just finishing the lap for good comparison purposes. Maybe if we get a little bit higher quality of driving in, that would be great as well. As much as the brake bias is pretty much forwards, I'm still kind of scared of locking up the rear. One more time through this technical area here. Circuit of the Americas, certainly one of my favorite tracks here on Le Mans Ultimate. Also, generally speaking, one of my favorite tracks to race on. Love doing F1 stuff around here, for sure. Front left is asking for mercy as we're pushing through turn 18. A quadruple left right-hander, and then final turn. Neutral steering on the exits. Nicely hitting the curb, hitting a bit of track limits too. Unlucky. So we were 4/10 ahead. We will see on the MoTeC file. Anyway, let's go to the pits and jump into the BMW with the new tires on. I know you guys are excited to find out about the new Hypercar Tyre Model, but first, before we go so guys, please have a thumbs up on the video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more updates, in-depth reviews here on Le Mans Ultimate. And now let's jump into the BMW to test the new tires. Let's see what they feel like. Alright guys, here we go. The new tire model on Le Mans Ultimate version 1.2.3. And I think already getting out of the garage has been a little bit more difficult than before. Rear end felt a lot more loosey-goosey. Anyway, guys, let's check this out. Let's see what this new tire model be like. So here comes the pit entry, pit exit. Ooh. Okay. So, okay, there's no grip whatsoever. Oh. Okay. So, whilst there is absolutely no rotation whatsoever, no grip on the front end, I have even less grip on the rear. Oh, that rear is extremely slippery. Oh. Wow. So, I broke super early. Oof. And yet still, I locked up. I didn't slow down in time. I missed the corner completely. Let's see where to brake here. Wow. Immediately locking up again. So it is about now where the front end has a tad off performance. A tiny little bit. But I would assume super understeer is still in this high speed. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Front end really doesn't do much yet. Let's see what the first lap time is going to be. Something that is certainly too low is traction control. It is mentioned in the changelog that traction control has been adapted across all cars to make up for the new tires. Certainly something that was broken before in the BMW has been the low TC cut one could run. Front tire is still not 100% there, I think. So that certainly has changed. You now certainly need to run a good portion more TC cut in order to not completely flip when you hit the throttle. I also think now we are in an area where the front is biting a good portion, where also the oh wow, where also the force feedback is a lot more communicated. And that is with 57 degrees on the core temperature here. And remember, on the old tire model, I think after the first sector we already were above 70 or something. If I remember correctly, we were between 40 and 50 on the outlap here before I switched into the TC section area. So as a matter of fact though, tires are now in a condition where you'd be like, okay, at least you can have some confidence in it. Still understeers a lot. Tire temperature is still very low on the core. We see 60-ish degrees. Oh, yeah, initial load on the brake is heavy. I mean, there's two reasons for it. Firstly, those new tires are obviously a lot more load sensitive, so any abrupt input will have a huge impact. But something else that you can see is that the warm-up phase have been endured big time. Look at the time gain we do on every acceleration zone so far. This is huge. This is mental, and this will mean a key strategic element. We're gonna talk about this in a moment when we're having a look into some MoTeC files. Because something else that is new on this tire model obviously is the heat transfer on the rims from the brake discs. Something we're going to have a look into as we are right now 1.7 seconds up on our own. Let's see how this is in acceleration. I slightly missed the corner, but you can still see a little bit more pressure in the tires, a little bit more temperature, better acceleration. We keep gaining the time here going down the straight. That is a huge time delta just after half of the lap. And as you can see, like it keeps growing, it keeps rising, which does mean anything else but the tires gripping up even harder. Effectively, I'd say, especially the front left tire is significantly more in temperature range than the other tires. You see high speed corner, another tenth and a half simply gained from going a bit faster through there. 2.6 seconds around the lap. So fast time lap was a 59.2. We're now talking about a 56.4. And we did the 53.4 on the fourth lap back on the old tire model, if I'm not mistaken. We're gonna see that in a moment as well. The tire in itself, rather talkative. I think it's a bit more talkative actually than than the GT3s from my first impression. Generally speaking, I don't think the FFB is as alive anymore compared to the old tire model, which would make sense in a way, because I think, if I remember correctly, one of the key assets of the great FFB that we saw back in R-Factor 2, also here on Le Mans Ultimate, was the lateral grip translation of the tire. The more lateral grip the tire could produce in various scenarios, the more FFB, the more pronounced the FFB was. And I think that is an element we're starting to yeah, not miss here, but that is an element that has changed a little bit, which to me means the entry of a corner feels a little bit more dull on the FFB in general. The FFB though is talkative enough to give you an indication for whenever the car is about to step out. Generally speaking, the car balance is a lot more neutral. Means I really have to at all time give the car direction. The moment I would go into a neutral steering situation as from before, I immediately need to completely counter steer to not spin out. So that is a key factor. The moment I would probably go for an esports slide or an esports slip angle, I would probably immediately spin out. There we go. This is, you would have easily got that on the old tire model. But here you get the chance to catch the car, but that is literally about it. Once you overcooked it, you're done. At least you're done with a good lap time, right? So let's see, I'm gonna go a bit further back with the brake balance. Let's see if I'll try slipping it into the turn. Yeah, I mean, it kind of works, right? But like, look at the delta. There's not really a chance of really making it faster, is it? Still a bit of subject to testing, I guess. But first initial impression means exactly that. The moment I go and give it a drift slide or give it a moment where I need to counter steer again, you see it's like, it's not like we're flicking the rear and be like, okay, this is a good rotation, just keep it going. No. The moment you start the flick, the moment you start overdoing it, getting into that slip angle, you immediately need to start counter steering it, which is a good thing, which finally gets us rid of the slip angle heroic driving that we've seen in the hypercars. until today. You see on every exit where I would have been neutral steering on the old tire model, I now need to do counter steering, and that means immediate time loss. Yeah, I'm yet to produce a good slip slide, but I can't really do it. Which is what we want to see, isn't it? Ooh, yeah. Some would call it a nice save. Jokes aside, arguably that has brought tire temperatures in it. Yeah, but as I said, guys, the moment you're doing this, the only thing that you can achieve with that is like keeping it out of the wall, but certainly not a faster lap time. So 15.8 on the Delta. Can we flick it? Yes, we can, but we flick it into a spin. So, and I think that is what we want to see, right? This is exactly what we would have loved seeing from the devs. Right. Something else that you can see is how much significantly I wore down the tire, which is insane. So what I'm going to do now is, as a comparison to that, we take a fresh set of tires and then we do some brake dragging, because... So before we head out again and check out the rim heating and the brake temperature heat transfer, guys, I'm interested in your opinion, your first point of view on these new tires. What do you like? What do you dislike? What is your concern? What is your hope? Let me know down in the comments area below, and I'm be interestingly looking forward to see you guys' opinion on it. But again, let's head out on track and let's check that new heat transfer on the Hypercar tires. And we didn't do that on the first outing. The brake dragging should now give us brake temperature, which should quickly go into tire temperature, especially into tire core temperature, right? So that is what we're gonna find out. I already adjusted the TC to the new level that we probably need. And you see how much also the TC is turning down the power. Have a look. Well, it's not only turning down the power, it's also still spinning. But we use the brake dragging all the way to get temperature into the tire. Need to make sure though to not lock the tire. So, I spoke about this being a strategic element. And with this I mean the tire in general, because remember, so far you changed tires and maybe you lost like 2 or 3 seconds on the out lap, half a second on the second lap, and then literally the tire was up to pace compared to people that were going for a double stint, right? Now you lose like 12 seconds for a pit stop, generally, like changing tires and so on. And at least on the first 2 laps, we did 59 something, 59.4. Now we did a 55.0. That is significantly slower, so that is like an additional 10, 12, probably 15 seconds, very track dependent, that you are additionally losing compared to like keeping the same tire on, which makes a double stint a much more strategic option compared to single stinting a tire even in a sprint race. I am sort of afraid that this tire update may change the meta in that regards, that we're seeing more and more double stints, maybe even only double stints, also in an 80-minute race. Okay, 1 lap of brake dragging, 59.4 to beat. Arguably, we do have a little bit more experience now on that new tire, obviously, but still. Let's see, in a considerably clean lap where we don't over-push too much, if we will have a positive improvement on our first initial lap time. And then happily we compare that in the MoTeC later on as well. Yeah, guys, and if you're still watching at this stage, then of course, thank you very much for your support and for being eager to find out about this new tire. And if you do so, please have a thumbs up on the stream or on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube video. Make sure to subscribe, ring the bell for more in-depth analysis. And as we can see from the delta, don't lock up. As we can see from the delta, I think we are significantly faster than before, and hopefully we can also back that up with data where we compare the first lap also section by section, where we not only will see that we're going faster, but also that we're going with higher speeds due to higher temperatures and so on. This will be an interesting research we're going to do straight away here as we're coming around penultimate turn. 2.2 seconds off, that should be a 57 something. The moment we get into a sideways drift, we're done. So, 57.4, 2.3 seconds off. Yeah, don't flick this. Don't even try flicking it. I'll tell you. You can flick it, but the only gain you will get from this is satisfaction that you potentially have the chance to catch a spinning car. But you certainly won't get any lap time out of this. I wonder how much setups will be affected by this new tire, because I'm running a setup right now which was created on a dated tire, so it is for sure not optimized for this. Something else that we see is, I think in comparison to the car before, is that for the BMW around Circuit of the Americas we got a bit more efficiency out of the car. So I wonder if that is a global thing, that every hypercar is running a bit longer now, or whether that is a BMW, feature. We'll probably find out in the near future of these days. So in the meanwhile, and not quite the fastest lap just yet, but I understand in Sector 2 we haven't been that far off, have we? A 10th in Sector 2. And even a purple Sector 3. So that means, with the tyres still in good shape because not too much spinning and sliding, we may now be able to finally do a good lap. And yeah, I turn into turn 1 and I'm immediately on the way of counter steering. This goes very well hand in hand with what I just said. This car not being setup-wise optimized for it yet. The new tire is certainly more fragile on the rear, so you need to reset your setups to make up for a more unstable rear, to make up for a front that is not biting as much initially. So initially you'll feel the front is doing loads more understeer, but it's the rear that is actually even more weak, that is even more load sensitive, which makes it probably similar to especially the GT3s, where after the latest patches. Yeah, as soon as you go into high-speed turns and you just throw the car in, good luck catching it. I'm not saying it is exactly like that on the Hypercar, but we certainly go into that direction. The moment you're gonna throw the car into the turn, you better be ready to catch it. 100%. So it will be tracks like Spa and Pujon, I think, which will be interesting to see how the cars are behaving. Generally, I'd also say this new tire is probably a tad slower than the old one here in those conditions. We did 53.4. Now this was a 55.1. Whilst I've just reached 80 degrees on the right hand side, and you see I still lose 2/10 from not being clean in turn 1. Let me see. We can somehow improve this. You need to be precise in the line. You need to exactly know what the car is able to handle and what it cannot handle. But I think I've kind of... I kind of peaked in tire performance here. You see, I need to anticipate the rear sliding around. Initially a better turn-in than before with more rotation. But then I have to correct on the exit and immediately I lose the momentum, hardly gaining any time out of it. I think it could be this third sector though now, where the pendulum swings towards a better overall lap time than the 55.1. Yeah, unless we lock up, which we just did. And I think also when locking up, the tire just doesn't come back. The moment you lock up, and I think I need to compare this a little bit to iRacing. The moment you lock up, you're locked up. Now that's a famous quote, but what I'm trying to say is you need to significantly release the brake in order to unlock the lockup. And that will make it interesting regarding overtakes and dive bombs and whatnot. So, on 1. Can we do it without... Yeah, I anticipated the entry a bit better. And immediately I saved 2/10 from not having to counter steer, right? From being a bit more defensive into the turn and not as aggressive. Certainly a step into the right direction here from Studio 397. And when was the last time you saw a hypercar being driven like an actual car, not something like turn in and go for some neutral steering to get out of the turn? See, I had to counter steer, I had hesitation, I had to correct the rear end mid-corner. It's not a significant time loss, it's half a tenth, but the key is, or the matter of fact is, it is not faster. Which is what we want to see, right? Yeah, I need to find my gist again. What I wanted to say. Maybe it comes back. Yeah, so when is the last time that you guys have seen a hypercar being driven like a car, being like, you have to turn right to go right. The moment you have to turn left while going right is you're in trouble. We haven't seen that in a while. Remember, it is this particular final turn that we're just coming up to. Old tire model, you turn in on the apex and then you go neutral steering. No, can't do it here. The moment you go neutral steering, you go straight. Or the moment you go neutral steering, you have to go negative steering and counter steer in order to avoid a spin. And I think this is what we want to see. A much more controlled exit here. even more defensive on the entry. Lost a bit of time there, but gained good momentum on the exit. This is going to be interesting. So all those hot lap merchants and all the setup geniusery and all the knowledge that you so far had for hypercar tires, open the window, throw it out. That's gone for good. That has probably no benefit for you anymore, which is an interesting one. Means the carts get reshuffled again. Remember about last lap? A significantly better exit for me. No counter steering, no hesitation on the momentum. And immediately we find the 10th going through this hairpin. So clean driving is being rewarded. Sadly for me though, also, less aggressive driving is probably awarded harder. And I'm usually a guy that tends to carry too much speed into any turn. Has just been my driving style for the past couple of months. So that means lots of work for me in progress, or lots of work to me, or coming towards me. Having to change that, having to anticipate that, having to adapt myself towards it. As I say, on the exit, counter steer, and you lose it. You lose the time, or you lose the car, or you lose both. Right. I think, guys, let's head into a MoTeC session and see what this means on the data. Alright, guys, so let's have a look into the MoTeC files. And as you can see, here are our stints. Sadly, I have, left the game too early, so this one is a temporary only. And as you can see, it doesn't contain any readings, so I quickly did the first 2 laps in the same style again. Anyway, let's talk about the old tire model versus the new tire model first, and then we can see on the overall tire temperature, on the rubber temperature, not too much of a change. The only change that we do have here basically is the grip coefficient that we do have on the old tires on colder conditions. So the old tire on colder conditions produces more grip, therefore more friction, more quickly heats up, and then delivers more performance. That is the only real change. You can see the tire carcass temperature behavior isn't too much different, if at all. So it is the range, it is the temperature range that has changed where the car is working. So let's have a look. Tire heating with the rim heating transfer. So this is our benchmark. This is the outlap without any tire rim heating, so without any brake dragging. And the white one is with brake dragging. And you can immediately see not so much a change in tire rubber temperature, because as you can also see, we're going a lot slower in general. So, you know, heat is generated in all kind of circumstances. When you do 300 kph over the long straight, this heats up the tire significantly. So you don't see too much changes in the actual tire rubber temperature. That is sort of being more or less not impacted. But the big change is the tire carcass temperature that you can see down here. This, especially on the front, heats up significantly more. Remember, we have 54% brake bias. So also because of the specific setting that we do have on the car, I think the front brake blanking, so the front cooling, is significantly less than on the rear, and you immediately see that there is a huge heat transfer. We can have a look into the brake temperatures on the outlap. Here you can see front tire temperatures very, very high, much higher than the rear, roughly 200, 300 degrees Celsius centigrade difference. And this energy, this heat, transfers into the rims, and that gets us a lot more performance out of the tire in the first lap, which you can see lap 1 is a 57.5 compared to a 59.2. And if we look into the grand scheme of things, remember we did this technique of this stint. Also in this stint, we see the lap times immediately being 55.6, lap 3, 55.1. So comparable to the 55.09. But you see that lap 2 is already a second quicker. It will be an interesting technique for qualifying. Obviously, you won't do it in the race, as you can see in the outlap. I was about 5 seconds slower between here and there. But yeah, it is still a significant technique for qualifying, getting the tires ready, or obviously on a pit stop, when you do get the heat from the tires. So if you do some brake dragging into the pits before your pit spot, the moment the new tires come on, the heat immediately transfers. That will give you already a peak improvement probably on the fast outlap. Anyway, we spoke about strategy. We spoke about the importance of that new tire playing a major role in strategies. So on the old tire mount, you see lap 1 is a second off, lap 2 is half a second off. So time loss after you've changed tires, probably another 12 seconds for the tire change in itself, plus another 4 or 5 seconds over the first 3 laps until the tire gets up to working temperature. We can see that in the statistics. Driving statistics. Here we go. If we're comparing outlap on the old tire model, outlap versus timed lap, we need to erase those 10 seconds. So let's have a delta here between, can I select this one with that? Yes, great. So you see 0.2, 0.4, 0.1. If you sum all this up, probably also a personal mistake in here. If you sum all these up, I think the difference is probably 3 seconds over lap, 2 seconds over the lap compared to the very peak. So on that old tire model, the car immediately came up to life, right? On the new tire model, things are looking a little different if we're comparing lap 5 with the outlap here. Just look at these deltas all alone. Let me have a quick look over here. So the deltas were between those laps were there. Yeah, if you sum that up, I would say it's probably around, I don't know, 0.478 second and a half. Disregard that second, but the 10th. Again, roughly 3 seconds, right? Look at this. Half a second, 7/10, 2 seconds. Basically 2.2 seconds, 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 5.5, 6.5 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds. We disregard the 2 or 5 seconds here. But like, you see there is a significant, like only in that area where I would say the data is consistent, you're losing 6 seconds compared to an on temperature fresh tire. 6 seconds and half a lap, make it 10 over a full lap. Add another 2.5 for lap 1 and maybe another half a second for lap 2. So that is 13 or 14 seconds. Obviously, that's going to be track dependent how much in total, but that is a huge amount of time loss that you need to make up over a full stint. So I said this already while we're driving. I think the meta is going to change from maybe 2 single stints in an 80-90 minute race up to a certain double stint without any tire change whatsoever, because the time loss on cold tires is significant. It may also become a more viable option to only change left sides and then only change right sides, only change left sides. That will probably will not cost you only also 7 seconds less in the pit stop in itself. It will most likely also give you a better performance on the first out lap, not losing, I don't know, 10 seconds, but maybe only 4 or 5. That will be interesting how strategies and how endurance races are playing out. The only thing where I would say it is complete smart to get new tires would be if we have a code 60. That would be something for Virtual Endurance Championship if they bring their manual code 60 in. I'm not sure if it's planned on Le Mans Ultimate side, on Studio 397 side, to bring a safety car or to bring a code 60, code 80, whatever. I really hope they do, because that would be a huge strategic element, because in the code 80 or code 60 situation, all tires would cool down. So when you pick up new tires, yes, you would still have significantly colder tires than your opponents, but by the time you get green again, the delta in temperature would probably be as huge. So that would be an option where I'd say get 4 fresh tires. Yeah, and then overall, we see that the new tire in the same configuration is roughly second and a half off in Circuit of the Americas. That is going to be a thing. So lap times are going to be slower from the hypercars. That will have an impact on lap counts in 60, 80, 100-minute races, and especially in the endurance races for sure. Races will get a lot more hard to plan, and I think it becomes more and more important now to be on the right tire compound, whether that is medium tire or hard tire in specific circumstances. So that's an interesting one to look out for. Again, I'm bringing up the sheet with the tire temperature that we've seen. That is obviously a huge change. Where am I? Here. Now the graph makes sense. This is an interesting one, and it's going to be an interesting one to see how it goes in the races in itself. Again, we can have a look into the slip and slide stuff that I've mentioned before. Let's see, in driving, if I can get up on the inputs. A variance, there we go. You probably see we have a lap somewhere where I do count the steering. On that occasion, not that much really. Maybe here in the final sector, in the final turn. You see us coming with more negative delta, so with an improvement towards the final turn. And by the time we get to this moment here, we have to counter steer, we immediately kill our momentum. And whilst the traction control is still fighting in it, you see this is a traction control infringement here, not infringement, but traction control activity. You see we're in the counter steer moment, the TC is throttling us down, and that is the moment where we lose all the momentum, and on the acceleration to the line from after the catch, we start to lose out time again, as we can see here. The variance slowly getting worse again. So I think we've really got a new tire on to play with that punishes sliding, that punishes a slip angle, that punishes an esport slide, and so on. I think we see the very same over here. What lap is this? I think it should be... It's the lap after that one. Compared to our best, there we've had a lot more significant counter steering, and as you can see, as a result of this, the -50 is an improvement on this side, for this lap. You see turn 1 on the red marked or on the colored way. We see I have to do a counter steer here in turn 1. And obviously, during that slide, I do gain the time. But here I need to anticipate the slide. I lose all the momentum. And by the time we get to turn 2, I'm over a 10th back. Or over a 10th down on my own pace. So, whilst momentarily we might gain a bit of time being a little bit of sideways it is afterwards where we are biting back ourselves, or where we get hurt. You see here, RPM is dropping down. We're just in this area where the counter steer happens. You just lose so much speed, so much momentum, and it really punishes it. And I think that is a very great way of a tire being implemented now here in Le Mans Ultimate. So guys, this has been my 2 cents for the new tire model here on Le Mans Ultimate, but obviously I'm interested in your opinion. Let me know down in the comments area below. What did you find interesting? What makes you excited about this new tire, or also what makes you maybe a little bit concerned about this new tire model hitting today? Let me know down in the comments area below. And last but not least, any questions, anything that I missed, let me also know down in the comments area below. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe us on the YouTube channel, and thank you so much for watching.